Hello, welcome back to Fourth Down Focus. This is episode 7 of our UK NFL podcast. Today I am joined with Kian.
Hello, I've got my predictions winning belt on this week as I was the winner again last week. Well, it was the first time, so I don't know why I said again. Anyway, move on.
Max.
I'm also the winner. We're tag team prediction. I've put it upside down. We're tag team prediction champions this week.
And Caden.
I've got a belt because I think I'm the only person that didn't get the same score in the predictions as everyone else. Is that correct?
No, I didn't either, but I was still better than you.
That makes me feel a bit better about myself. Then.
You were still last by 2, but yeah.
Yeah, still did shit, but...
Right, so we'll start off week 6 review with our teams. I'm not letting Caden start it off. I'm not giving him satisfaction, and I don't want to start either. So we'll start with Kian.
Cheers, mate. Nice one. Right, we're just not very good. It was Aidan O'Connell's first start back after last season. He was just as painful as I remember him being. And yeah, they're just not a great team. The sooner we start tanking, which we might have already done, to be fair, then the better. And bring us Shadir Sanders. He is my goat. Move on.
Max, I'm assuming your Browns a fairly similar story to the Raiders.
We are tanking. It's confirmed now. I had a bit in the running order about teams tanking today, but I mean, we can skip ahead slightly to the Browns. We've traded Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. The Browns will receive a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 seventh, and the Bills receive Amari Cooper and a sixth-rounder this year, which we got from Detroit. So we're tanking. The game was poor. Deshaun hasn't thrown over 200 passing yards in a game this season. We've not scored 20 points or more this season. We managed to hold the Eagles to quite a low score because I thought it was going to be about 100. But yeah, it's sad being a Browns fan. I don't like it anymore. I don't know if I ever did, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to just finish off the depression bit before Caden gets his little flexing bollocks out of the way. We're terrible. Well, half our team's terrible. Half our team's actually really good. Defensively, again, another great performance, I'd say, bar the disastrous Joe Burrow touchdown. I don't really know what happened there, but apart from that one moment of madness, completely locked down that Bengals offense all night. Just a shame we have Daniel Jones throwing the ball on offense, who likes to throw blind picks into quadruple coverage, which is just great. So yeah, while he's our quarterback, I can't really see us winning anything at all. Whether we join your little tankathon situation or not, I don't know. I feel like if we lose to Philadelphia next week, we probably will join in because at that point, I don't really see a point in trying because we'll be 2-5. We're not going to make the playoffs. We might as well just throw it. But yeah, so defensively, we're absolutely fine and looks good for next year if we can get a quarterback. Offensively, I hate Daniel Jones and can't wait till he's gone. Caden, we'll let you have your gloating out of the way now, even though you were terrible.
Yep, our second win. We might have been terrible, but we beat you. Your defense might be good, but it's not good enough because I really don't know how we didn't score more. I know that you were good, which you have said many times, but we should be scoring more than 17 against you, if we're being honest. But solid performance again. It's nice to see us get another win, although it's against the Giants. And I'm just hoping we can do this again. I said this after we beat the Panthers, and I thought we were going to go on a generational run, and we've been shit since that. So just nice to get a win on the board. And, you might not know how it feels, guys.
Hold on, we've got the same amount of wins.
And we do.
So,
I don't.
We'll move on from our disastrous teams, and I'm including the Bengals in that one. We'll go to the London game this week. So another game down. We've got one more, obviously, this week, but it was the Bears against the Jags, and the Bears with what many would probably say is a bit of a statement win. But Kian and Max, both of you two, got the joy of seeing the Bears behind the scenes at their training camp again this week. Obviously, we went to the Vikings and the Jets the week before, and this week we had the Bears. How was that for you two?
I'll let you start, Max, because I've got quite a bit to say about it.
Yeah, Kian went last week. This was my my first time going, well, the week before last. It was surreal. The place that they're staying is ridiculous. I'm from a rough council estate in Leeds. I should not be in that building. It was ridiculous. But yeah, obviously, Kian will touch on it, but we met Caleb Williams, really nice guy, we met Roma Dunze and DeAndre Swift and got interviews with them, which I've seen on the socials if you follow us. And yeah, it was ridiculous, to be honest. Probably the coolest thing I've ever done. I'll let Keane carry on.
Yeah, so like Max touched on, obviously the interviews was a little bit different to how the Jets did things. So literally, we were sat about to listen to Eberflus, and someone came in and said, "Oh, the players are sat in there. Go and speak to them." Now I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that, but when you're walking in and the first overall pick and the number 9 fucking pick is sat there, you're like, "Oh shit, what do I do here?" So I did pretend to go to the toilet, so I didn't have to be the first one to speak to him because I was quite nervous. However, I think it went okay. Roma Dunze was a really nice guy. I've ordered his Washington jersey. No regrets there. DeAndre Swift was very tired, bless him, but he was still sound. And yeah, Caleb Williams was really, really sound as well. Just a quick one, like on a serious note. This is probably the best thing we've ever done, like in our lives. It's like a ridiculous thing. So cheers to everyone, like anyone who's watching. We want to be able to do this again. We don't just want this to be a one-off thing. So yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, as you said, surreal experience when I had it before, as you said, getting thrown in, it can be quite daunting because I had the same situation with Aaron Jones. It's sort of like he's outside, go and talk to him, and I didn't really have anything prepared. So it's sort of just like a quick, just throw something at him. But yeah, no, as you said, thank you to everyone watching because it gives us the platform to be able to do stuff like this. And a lot of us probably wouldn't be able to do stuff like this. So yeah, thank you for that. So we'll move on to the prime time games this week. So we'll start with Thursday night football. Anyone got any thoughts on the Thursday night game this week?
I don't remember any of it.
Does anyone actually remember any of it?
We were watching it, and me and Keane were just on form that day. We were having a good laugh while we were watching it. I've got some stuff written down about it, though.
I'm not sure you can say them all.
No, not that. About the game, Keane.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so it was a 36-24 win for the 49ers. Maybe is that a win? I would say it's a win to put them back on track, but as proven by the last couple of weeks, the Seahawks aren't very good. And the 3 losses in a row now, I believe, takes them to 3-3 after winning their first 3 games. What would you say, Max? 49ers back on form, or just a brutal team winning as a pretty poor team?
I think it was a big win for them, obviously, against a divisional rival as well, because there's other teams in that division that are playing okay, apart from maybe the Rams. They look a bit rough this season. But a big thing I wanted to touch upon is the round 4 pick, Isaac Guerendo. I didn't know he was going into the game, to be honest, but he had 10 carries for 99 yards. And Jordan Mason also got 73 yards from 9 carries. So, as we've touched on before, I think that any running back can just do well in this San Francisco offense. It's ridiculous at this point. They're doing this well rushing without CMC. Then you've also got Debo, who went over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown from 3 receptions. So I think, although we spoke last week about them maybe not being contenders anymore, they're still that team, I think, even without CMC.
Kian, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, last week I said that they'd been a bit derailed, but from what I can remember about that game, they were really good. And yeah, like Mike says, any running back can succeed in that team. I don't want them to do well, but I think that was a bit of a statement. We can get them back on track, and we'll see what they do this week. Pretty hard game, although. So,
Same thing, Caden.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't catch the game, unfortunately, but I did watch through some of the highlights, and the Niners looked quite good, as per. I think I wrote them off last week for the Super Bowl, which is it's still a long way away, but you never know. They could just win every game for the rest of the season and go all the way. We'll have to see.
I said the same thing really about the Niners. You can't write them off. You just can't with that team. It's still a very talented roster, even without CMC. And as we said, it just depends when he comes back. But as you touched on, Max, you've got 2 very capable running backs in that team. And with that O-line, and anyone can succeed, I think, in that offense. So it'll be interesting to see how they kick on now. Obviously, they've got a tough game, which we'll get into later on this week. But we're not talking about Sunday night football. I refuse. So we'll move on to last night.
I'd quite like to talk about it.
Yeah, well, we've had our fun with Sunday night. We'll move on. Monday night football, Bills versus the Jets. The Bills with a narrow win, I think it's safe to say, over the Jets. Obviously, we had that Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary as well, which was a bit of a blast from the past, some may say, to Lazard. But Kian, the Jets, I mean, we'll touch on a big story with the Jets in a minute, but Are they still in that contention race for playoffs, or are they sort of falling away?
Sorry, a flag's just been thrown. They forgot to throw it last night. That game was absolutely ridiculous. No, I think I wouldn't say they were in contention, but then we've all seen today's big news. I'll just say it now. Davante Adams has gone there. He's a good player, and his hamstring is going to magically recover now, and I guarantee he's playing on this weekend. So, yeah, they looked okay. I didn't think they looked terrible last night. I mean, Rodgers made a terrible decision at the end with that interception. Breece Hall was wide open and probably would have got the first down. But I do think they're probably still in contention, but I can't see them actually doing anything too big this year. There's still holes in that team.
Max?
Yeah, the Jets needed that win, and they got just slightly beat to it by Josh Allen and the Bills. Ray Davis had a really good game for the Bills. We haven't touched on that yet. He was incredible last night. There was that one pass where we were watching the Manning cast version of the coverage, and Josh Allen was in his own end zone, and he like went to throw it away, and Peyton Manning was there. He was going, "Throw it away, man!" And he throws it 50 yards to Ray Davis, who was a running back, by the way, not a receiver. So yeah, that was insane from the Bills, and they've obviously got a new weapon now in Amari Cooper from the Browns, which is slightly annoying, but he's not done much for us anyway. But yeah, the Jets, obviously Davante Adams now. People are saying that they might take away targets from other young receivers like Garrett Wilson, but I think it'll only make them better because you've got players trying to cover Davante Adams because they know how dangerous he can be. That leaves other people to get open. So yeah, I think it's a good move for the Jets, and I can see a wild card spot for them this season in their division. Obviously, they're definitely the second best team. The Dolphins have been massively derailed, and the Patriots are the Patriots. So yeah, I like the Jets.
Caden?
It was a very good game. We all watched the Manning cast, as Max said. Very entertaining. It's completely different to watching the game on any other coverage. And I was just, obviously we had the whole thing with the amount of flags that were being thrown, which was a bit silly. But apart from that, very good game to watch. I think that Aaron Rodgers' pick at the end, it was a bit silly him throwing the ball all the way down there, but it was a great catch. And I didn't think it was a pick at first. I thought he'd actually caught the ball. So just a very solid game to watch, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with the Jets. Obviously, we said about the sort of double news with the receivers, with Cooper going to the Bills and Adams going to the Jets. I think, I said it before, but I don't think the Jets make the playoffs, even with Davante Adams. I saw a TikTok on it, and for me, it just sums it up. Something's wrong in New York. I don't know what it is with the Jets. It just feels like something's off in some way or another. Just all seems to be a bit too closed off for my liking, and I think they've on paper they've gotten more than enough to make the playoffs, but I just don't see it personally. For me, I think something's wrong. I think it'll start realising soon what that thing is. So the AFC, if we stay with the Jets and stuff like that, obviously we've got a few teams doing really well. The Chiefs obviously still unbeaten, as it's the Chiefs, Texans, Ravens, all now hitting their form. My question to you is, which team, should we say, is going to win the AFC this season? I'll start with you, Kian.
Well, I said last week that I think the Texans are going to be in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to stick by it. I'm really confident that they've got what it takes. Just every time you watch them, there's little issues, but there's nothing major. That offense is absolutely ridiculous. There's not a bad player on it. So I'm going to go with the Texans, and if you have asked me that 4 years ago, everyone would have laughed at me for saying that. So, yeah, Texans are going to win the entire thing.
Max?
Yeah, it's between the Chiefs, Ravens, and Texans for me. Maybe an outside shout with the Bills, but they've not been as convincing recently as they were near the start of the season. I think I'm going to pick the Ravens personally. Obviously, we play them twice a season, so I'll probably see them a bit more than the rest of the league. But yeah, they just look unbeatable at the minute. They smashed a good Commanders team who I backed against them. They were the only prediction I got wrong last week, which is slightly annoying. So yeah, I'm taking Baltimore, unfortunately.
Good.
I changed my mind on this a lot. I backed the Texans at the start, but I don't think they'll go to the Super Bowl. I really like the look of the Bills. I know, Max, you said they've not been as good as people thought they were going to be, but I think that they're still just one of the most exciting teams to watch for me. I just love watching Josh Allen. He's one of my favourite players to watch. So I'm going to go for the Bills as my shot.
I'm going to be boring. I still think it's the Chiefs. I just don't see a world where they're stopped. I know we say it every year. There's always teams that look better. And I do think the Texans look better than the Chiefs at the minute. And I think there's probably a few teams you can argue. I think the Ravens at the minute as well. But they're just inevitable, and it's really annoying because if you go off who deserves it, it's probably not them, even though, granted, this might be a mental statement because they are unbeaten. But I just can't see it with anyone else. I think the Chiefs always get better when it comes to the playoffs. It happens every single year. So if they can make it to the playoffs in comfortable state, I don't see who stops them, to be honest.
What sums it up for me is the fact that they're not playing great. Mahomes has thrown as many touchdowns, he's thrown interceptions, yet they're still unbeaten. They're just inevitable, and they just never seem to lose. And it's really painful because I really hate them.
So this is what I mean. Like, as you said, they're not playing well, and they haven't lost a game. And it's scary for when they do start playing well, how good they're actually going to be. Because, it's just the Chiefs. And at the minute, unfortunately, while Mahomes is around, they're going to be contending for the Super Bowl every single year, I think, without fail, even with no receivers. But move across to the NFC. The unfortunate news for the Lions is that Aiden Hutchinson's season is over. Pretty gruesome injury. I believe it was a broken tibia in the end, is what they said it actually was. But, I mean, we could pretty much tell that from seeing the video, unfortunately. But, again, another question I'd pose from this one is, are the Lions still contenders, even without Aiden Hutchinson? I'll start with you, Caden. What do you think?
I think they are. I think they just look nearly unstoppable and are probably still by some way the best team in the NFC at the moment. Obviously, it's a horrible injury for Hutchinson. Hopefully he recovers very well, but I just don't see the Lions not going very far this season.
Max?
Yeah, it's a tough injury. I hope he recovers from it because he's a fun player to watch. He's a great edge rusher, one of the best in the league. I don't know who they're going to get to replace him. I saw that they signed Isaiah Thomas today, he's nothing special. We drafted him a few years back. I still think they're contenders. I think they're just that fun to watch. They're one of my favourite teams to watch, which I'll touch on later. And the offense is good enough to carry them, even if the defense is losing one of their best players. So, maybe they'll bring someone in that's that kind of caliber to replace him for the rest of the season. I don't know, but they're still contenders for me.
Kian?
Yeah, I think it's been touched on. I mean, like everyone said, firstly, I hope he makes a full recovery because he's some player. But it's definitely been touched on. That offense is that good that I think it can outscore anyone. They can take it into a shootout and they can win a shootout. And I do think they're still contenders just with the offense alone. I mean, I know I said last week defense wins championships, but a good offense does as well. So I think they can win any shootout they go into. There's not many teams with a higher scoring power than them. And I still think they're contenders. I still think they'll make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, you can't rule them out, can you, with that offense? It's been electric, and I did really enjoy them just taking the piss out of the Cowboys. It really, really made my entire day much better, especially after the Giants result. But it's a big loss, isn't it? I think it's hard to tell how they're going to cope because it's been so long since they've had to play without him. And, he was, I think, either was or was very close to being the sack leader before he's gone down injured. Now I think Dexter Lawrence might have overtaken him this week. But, it's a big loss. I think I saw some interesting rumors about Max Crosby, which for Keane
I saw those.
Probably just ruin everything they've got. But I don't see it. I don't think they'll sink everything into getting him when it's just going to be this season without Hutch. I think they said, I can't remember which pundit said it, but it was lucky in a way that the only good positive thing about it is it's maybe season ending, but it's not a career ending injury because with a leg break like that can end careers. I do worry when he comes back, if he'll still have the same explosiveness that he had before his injury. Obviously, with a broken leg, it's hard to sort of tell when they come back, are they still going to be the same player they were before it? Only time will tell. I think they're still contenders. I think whether they get there or not, I said we'll see this week basically if they're still going to be there, but I think they should be. Dallas is the next topic for me, and a very enjoyable one for me because it's all going horribly wrong for the Cowboys this year. They're going to their bye 3-3. Probably, I think their only fortune is our division is absolutely terrible this year, so they've still got more than a good enough chance to be winning our division. But Kian, what do you think is going wrong for Dallas this season?
I mean, I wish that a 3-3 was going horribly wrong for us. That's the first thing I'm going to say. But do you know what? I really don't know what to put it on. Obviously, you sent the brief out today about what we're speaking about, and I had a little look at Dak Prescott's performances. Yes, he's thrown picks, but he's only had one game where he hasn't thrown over 200 yards. His numbers are not that bad. I mean, he needs to up his ball security 100%, but he's not the sole blame at all. I mean, when you put up losing up nearly 50 points at home, there's an issue somewhere, but where the issue is, I can't tell you. I'm just going to blame Jerry Jones, so I don't like him.
Max?
Yeah, Keane's just touched on Dak's numbers. He's got 8 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions this year, which isn't the worst, but it's not great. You want to get them interception numbers down, especially this early in the season. I think they probably want more from CeeDee Lamb and the defense as well. I know they've been without DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons for a game or two, and they'll be coming back, but it's still just, there's something off. Maybe it is Jerry Jones, like Keane said. I don't know. My favourite thing to do after the Cowboys get battered is listen to First Take and listen to Stephen A. Smith laugh at them. Did the same thing today. And he said a stat, it really intrigued me. I think it was the Cowboys are the second team in NFL history to go 4 straight games and be down by 15 or more at half time. I think that was the stat. You'll have to fact check me on that, but that's bad. That's like, I don't know. It's weird. Like Keane said, 3-3. It could be a lot worse, but it's just something's wrong in Dallas.
Caden?
Yeah, it's similar to the situation with the Jets. Like, you can't really figure out what it is, but there's just something that's not clicking. Obviously, Dak's not playing horribly, and it's just the case of there's something there that's going wrong that we can't see, and it's down to them to figure out what that is and get it sorted, because there's still time for them to have a good rest of the season, so you can't write them off yet, but I'll have to see something change very soon.
I think there's one obvious change for me. Mike McCarthy. They need to get rid of him, and quick. As much as I really hope they keep him all year, because they're going to be terrible if they do. I think that's the issue. I really do. I just don't see where else you can throw the blame. Dak's not been great, but he said he's not been awful. I think they've had it for years. There's no run game in Dallas at all, and there hasn't been for a couple of seasons now. They just have to rely on Dak throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb, and eventually that gets found out. And as we've seen by a few teams this season, it has. But I think, as you said about the defense, it's been giving up 140 points in the last 4 home games. Something stupid.
Yeah.
And, when you've got the Lions, getting linemen running routes, you've got Penei Sewell on a lateral play, scoring a touchdown, albeit it was flagged back. You're getting absolutely taken the piss out of at home by a team you're supposed to be contending with. And I think at that point, you throw the blame somewhere, and it's got to go to Mike McCarthy, I think. I think if there's a head coach next to go, it should be him.
I don't know. Doug Peterson.
Sirianni.
Yeah, I think Sirianni as well, which is great news for us because all the teams in our division are absolutely horrible, so it's not just us being terrible. Speaking of we'll go to a much better division than ours this season, the NFC North. Many label it now the best division in football, which I think is probably a fair thing to say. I don't really think anyone else comes close with the records in there. But Max, why is this division so good this year?
I just think every team in it's really good. I think we expected probably big performances from the Lions and the Packers, and then the Bears maybe just because of the hype around the off-season. No one expected the Vikings to be at the top of that division. I still think the Lions, like I said before, are the best team in that division. Despite the records, I think Minnesota will still fall off a bit, despite what you said last week about them making a Super Bowl, which is something that James said. No one forget that James said that, please. Right. Just remember that.
Please, no one forget, because I look like an absolute genius when it comes around to February.
Okay, mate. Okay. But yeah, it's just every team and it's got above 500 records. Everyone looks fun to watch. The Bears are fun to watch. The Packers are fun to watch. The Lions are fun to watch. The Vikings are fun to watch. I'm repeating myself. You get the point. Everyone's fun to watch, and they're all winning teams. I'm going to pass it on. I'm waffling.
Kim?
So when, obviously, the divisions don't change, but when I looked at the start of the season, I thought, right, Vikings, Bears are going to be the whipping boys. They're not going to be great at all this season. And I think, they've proved us wrong, both of them. The Vikings have massively proved us wrong. The Bears had a few shaky games, I think it's fair to say. So they lost back-to-back games. But look, they've won 3 on the bounce now. And Caleb Williams looked unbelievable on Sunday. I mean, he threw four touchdowns. He's tied on the international record of touchdowns in a game. And his passer rating is just going up and up. He's learning the game, and they just look a much better team. And I think that is what's making it so good. The 2 teams you expected to not be great are having good seasons. So I just think that it's a ridiculous division, and I'm glad we're not in it.
Okay.
Yeah, it is just a really fun division to keep track of because, as it obviously been touched on, no one expected the Vikings to be doing as well as they are. And people didn't think the Bears were going to be as good as they have been, I don't think. I think early in the season when we were on the podcast, I was saying that Caleb Williams, he looks decent, but he's still got a lot of room to improve. I didn't think he'd be making these improvements until next season, but he's already grown into the game so much, and I can see why he got drafted first overall now because he is just a brilliant quarterback. And it's just like a great division to keep track of, like I said, because you don't know who's going to come out on top at this point. It could be the Vikings, but you just really don't know. But nothing to go to the Super Bowl, though, James.
Time will tell. You know, I won't bring up past episode comments because Keane probably not.
Well, you can if you want.
But you know, say not the most positive comments from you about Caleb Williams early in the season.
My mind's been changed now, not just because I've met him. He was good, and he was a nice bloke, but he was good the week before as well. We actually spoke about it on here, and I said he looks like he's improving. And there was that clip of him on Sunday where he's going through his progressions, and you can just see him like scanning. And a lot of people are saying that's like 10-year veteran stuff. Like you don't see rookie quarterbacks doing that, and he's definitely improving. And I think the battle between him and Jaden Daniels is really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sticking with the division. I just think, as you said, it's the Bears and the Vikings. You know, I mean, I had the Vikings being terrible this season. I think everyone thought it. With no real quarterback, I think. But prove me wrong quite happily because I actually quite like the Vikings. And, you know, just, I as I said, I have them in the Super Bowl. I genuinely do believe they're that good. But as you said, you know, it's just a good division. It's fun to watch. It's about time we had a division where all 4 teams were really competitive. I think ours are in the bad way, really, because we're all so bad that one of us has to get through to the playoffs. But luckily, it won't be us. But yeah, it's a very good division. I think it's good for the NFL to have a division like that where it's just really, really fun to watch. We'll stick with more you two, Kian and Max. Are we I mean, you probably consider, or you've already said you think you're tanking.
Yeah.
Is that? Do you think teams are officially making the call to start tanking? I mean, you two believe you're both doing it already. I think you got the Patriots, the Jags, the Panthers in there as well. Are you throwing it away already? Have you given up?
I think it's really hard to ask professionals who don't get very long in their career to just purposely lose. I genuinely just think we're that bad. I don't think we're losing on purpose. I just think we're that bad. Trying to get someone like Max Crosby with the talent he's got to play shit to get a good draft pick, who the draft pick will then probably play shit. And then he's got to do it over and over again. It's so hard to make them tank. But I do think some teams are, naming no names, the Cleveland Browns. But yeah, some teams are. But on us, I don't think we are. I just don't think we're very good.
Max?
Yeah, we're in the banter era again. It's like 0-16 all over again. It's shocking. I've got some notes written down about this question here, and they're not relevant anymore because since then, Davante's gone, Amari Cooper's gone, and I think teams are actually tanking now. I wrote down that I don't think anyone's going to start tanking until just after the trade deadline, and I've changed my mind. Everyone's tanking, and everyone's shit. I don't know. I'm sick of the Browns. I'm sorry. I can't do it anymore.
Caden?
Yeah, well, I don't like the idea of tanking because, as Kian said before, it's just like it's not really fair on the players to purposely lose because they've grown up playing the sport and wanting to win and making them, like, forcing them to lose so you can get another decent draft pick and you don't know if that's going to be any good. It's not very ethical, I don't think. But in the case of the Cleveland Browns, you need all the help you can get, mate. So I'm all for you tanking. So
mate, there's been rumours about this man getting traded. Are you taking the piss?
But
he's the only good player.
Yeah.
See, that's why I've got him behind me. He's the only player that looks good against Philadelphia. We wouldn't have even scored a touchdown if it wasn't for him blocking a field goal. And I've seen rumours about him getting traded. What a shit show.
But you can't really make players tank, but owners can make decisions that heavily lead to you losing more and more games.
Yeah.
Hence, Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more that. I think it's just teams are just bad rather than tanking. Like, there's only against the Patriots. You can see putting Drake May in. They're trying to win because they wouldn't put him in if they wanted to lose. They'd leave Brissett in all season. So I think it's just a case of some of these teams are just that bad. They just can't win. And I think, as I said, the Browns are probably prime example. But I think the trade of Cooper probably puts forward the fact that you're probably trying to get a high draft pick next season because you wouldn't trade away your only good receiver if you weren't. But the same with Devontae Adams, as I said, he did want to leave, but you probably wouldn't get rid of him still if you were trying to win games. But it's hard to tell. But as you said, players don't want to lose. They're not going to want to lose on purpose, but owners can make decisions which make teams lose, and we're seeing that this week, I think. So We'll I think it's all the news to cover. We'll get onto a situation in Pittsburgh as well when we get through to their predictions. But as these two like to mention, they did win the predictions last week. Max and Kian both got one wrong. I believe Kian predicted the Seahawks, which was wrong, and Max predicted the Commanders.
Yeah.
I was unfortunately second because I decided to go edgy and say the Giants would beat the Bengals and the Jags would beat the Bears in London. But apart from that, I got them all right. And Caden, I said about yours the better.
How did I think so bad? What did I get wrong?
I believe you got the
I backed the
Seahawks. You got the Commanders.
I think that's it.
And you had another one wrong. I can't remember which one it was, but there was another one in there.
It was Denver.
Oh yeah, the Broncos to win as well.
Yeah. Looking back on that probably wasn't the best call.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think if you look at the table, I'm currently ahead, but Max and Kian doing considerably well considering they both missed a week. Me and Caden will also have to sit out a week. I think we both agreed, unless the situations change, that week will be when our teams have our bye weeks in the season. So you'll see later on. We'll still predict if we're here, but we won't count ours towards the total to make it fair. But first up, we have the Saints against, who have they got?
Broncos.
It's a good start.
Yeah, Saints against the Broncos. So Thursday night football, prime time. Don't know why that's on prime time, but Kian, what are we saying for this one?
I was getting my predictions up. I totally agree with you. Why the fuck is that game prime time? It's possibly the worst. Spencer Rattler versus Bo Nix. Wow.
Terrible.
Yes, he is. All I've got to say about that is Saints because I can never back the Broncos.
Max?
I don't think Spencer Rattler was actually that bad. He was surprisingly good when we was seeing him on red zone. He was flicking up, and they could have come back in that game. If you look at the scoreline, it doesn't reflect how close that game was. The Bucs just went insane near the end of the game and put up 51 points, I think it was. But I'm going to take the Saints. I don't like the Broncos very much, not for divisional rivalries. I just think they're shit. So give me the Saints.
It'd be weird if you picked them for division rival reason. Because they're our division.
Caden?
Yeah, I'll take the Saints as well. I'm not going to take the Broncos this time. I'm not making that mistake again. They're never getting backed for the rest of the season. Saints, they're not obviously not the best team, but they are better than the Broncos. So I think that's a pretty safe prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the Saints as well. As a Rattler, I don't think he was that bad in the grand scheme of things for his debut game. Broncos, even when they've won, I still don't think they've been very convincing. It's not really been, they haven't really had a convincing win all season. It's just been maybe fortunate against some really bad teams that they've ended up matching up against, that they were just slightly not as bad as the Cleveland Browns.
Kian. Oh, pointing at Kian.
Oh, Kian, sorry.
They haven't beat us yet. It's in a few weeks.
I think it's just for someone like Kamara to have a big game, reignite that offense we saw in the first couple of weeks from the Saints, which looked really exciting. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Saints. Next up, we have the last London game of the circuit this year, unfortunately. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars against the New England Patriots. Quite an interesting one, this one. I'll let you start this one off, Max.
I've got the Pats. I think the Jaguars are terrible. I think if anyone... actually, I've changed my mind in my own head before I even say anything. I was going to say if anyone's tanking, it might be them, but I think they're just shit. I think they're just really bad. Trevor Lawrence is a shadow of his college self and the first round pick that we all expected, the first overall pick, sorry. So I'm going to take the Patriots. I think Drake May had a good start in a pretty tough game against the Texans, who we all think might end up in the Super Bowl. Patriots for me.
Cade?
I'm taking the Jags purely because it's a London game and they can't be playing 2 games in London and not getting a win. And that is the only logic behind my pick. They are absolutely terrible. Watching them was like torture the other day, but I do think they'll get a win. But it is just a very poor game to have in London when it's supposed to be like an actual event for the sport. So they could have done better for that. But I will take the Jags.
Kian?
Well, firstly, I'm actually off to this game. So to be on Roger Goodell's side, it's a terrible game, but the NFL in the UK is always a special occasion. No matter what game you go to, just the whole event is unbelievable. Keep your eye on the socials. I'll be doing some stuff, and I'm pretty sure James that way will also be doing some stuff. But I really don't like the Patriots because of obviously the whole Tom Brady took rule stuff. But I'm going to have to pick them because the Jaguars are really bad. They're a really, really bad team, and I think it's going to be Drake May's time to just sort of impress people. It's on a big stage. It's the only game on at that time. People wake up to watch it. You know, he's playing in the UK. Big stage. He's going to want to win, and I think they might do as well. I think they're good enough to beat the Jaguars.
I mean, yeah, Drake May, 3 passing touchdowns on his debut, and he was the only rookie quarterback this season to actually throw a passing touchdown on his debut at all, let alone 3. I think it took Caleb 3 or 4 games, same with Nix and Daniels as well. All took a while to get settled in, but he was straight in a tough game, and he showed up. And I think it's been a bit of a mystery as to why he's not been playing all season, to be honest, because Brissett is absolutely useless. But Trevor Lawrence, I'm just not convinced. 61% pass completion rate this season. Only Jordan Love and Anthony Richardson have a worse rate than him throughout the games, and obviously Love's missed a couple, so has Richardson. So I think for the loser, it's the question of do you start the tank after losing that game, because at that point your season's basically past being recoverable. I'm going to back the Patriots. I think Drake May is going to show up again, and it's going to be a big stage for him in London, obviously. As you said, it's a big event for us here to have any team. I just wish it wasn't the Jaguars and the Patriots. Next, we've got the Falcons against the Seahawks. Caden, I'll let you start this one off. What do you think?
I think I'm going to take the Falcons on this one. Not just because I backed the Seahawks against the Niners and we lost. I just think the Falcons are actually quite an enjoyable team to watch at the moment. Obviously, a couple of weeks back we had that incredible Kirk Cousins game, and I think he's playing quite well after that as well. So I think they'll get a nice little win there.
Max?
I've got the Falcons too. I'm rarely back against them at this point, I've noticed. I just really like watching them. And they're an outside shout in the NFC for a playoff spot, obviously. The only other team in that division that I think challenges them is the Bucks with Baker Mayfield. I've got the Falcons. Obviously, the Seahawks, they're on a bit of a bad run, so they might want a win. So I think it should be an entertaining game. But Atlanta for me. I'm going to take this fucking belt off.
Kian?
Well, Max didn't say it, so I'm going to. It's officially Kirktober. And I think
but when I say it, it's a problem.
It's a problem when you both say it.
Oh, all right, dog pound. I think that it's going to be a Falcons win. Like I say, I backed the Seahawks last week, and I was not impressed at all. Geno Smith, just retire. You're quite old now. So, yeah, I'm going to go Falcons. I think they're good enough to beat them and beat them pretty convincingly as well.
Yeah, Gino's back to the way he was. Obviously, they had a good start, 3-0, another 3-3, and I don't think any of the losses were particularly arguable either. Considering they lost to us as well, it's probably not a good sign. Giving up 29 points to our offense is quite impressively bad. But I think Falcons seem to be getting better every week. Kirk, I'm not saying it, but seems to perform well in a certain month of the year, and he's doing it this year.
In Kirktober.
But yeah, it's the QB they've needed for a while, that leader of the offense they just haven't had for a few years, and I think they've got him now, and I agree with the fact they could easily be playoff contenders this season. Obviously, they need the win as well to stay ahead of the Bucks, because the Bucks have a tough game this week, so I think they could gain some ground if they do win it. So I'm going to back the Falcons and make it a first sweep of the week for our predictions.
Did we not make sense?
Yeah, we all bet.
Did we all pick the Saints? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well done, James.
Yeah, thanks for that. We'll go this next game. A lot more talent in this one. We got the Packers against the Texans.
Whoa.
Probably one of the biggest games of the week.
I'd say game of the week.
Yeah, it's definitely got potential. I did have that down as probably the game of the week this week. Kian, what are we saying about this one?
Firstly, it's not my game of the week. Vikings-Lions, I think, is going to be a better game.
Ooh.
But it's a really hard one to predict. I know that I love the Texans. I bang on about the Texans all the time, but I'm a really big fan of the Packers as well. Just everything they do is just pretty impressive. But Jordan Love plays a certain style of football that it can't last forever. Some of the passes he makes are very, very short, tight windows. One thing goes wrong, that's a pick. So I'm going for the Texans. I think they're going to have too much for them.
Max?
Yeah, I'm taking H-Town as well. The Texans. I'm a big fan of them. I'm a big fan of CJ Stroud. The Packers are a fun team to watch, like I said earlier, but I think Houston are just more solid. I think they're more consistent as well. So I'm taking H-Town.
Ken?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Texans as well. I think I always say my three favourite teams apart from the Bengals to watch in the NFL are probably the Texans, the Packers, and the Bills. I just think that it's a great matchup, and I've written down with my prediction that it'll be a marginal win for the Texans, but I think they will have the edge over them.
Yeah, I'm going to make it another sweep for us. I'm going to go with the Texans. I think the issue is, I think the Packers, they know they need to keep winning because with their division, obviously, they could finish with a really good record and still miss the playoffs with how good that division is performing this season. So they're going to feel the pressure. But I think if the Texans win this game, I think they already are, but I think they'll properly cement themselves as contenders this season. This finally the year, I think, where they've broken out and their team's finally getting stuck together and into the way they need it to be contending for the Super Bowl. But yeah, I haven't really got much else to say that. I'm going to back the Texans. Another fourth down focus derby again. With the Cleveland Browns against the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't really know which one you to start with here. I'll probably start with Max because I can't imagine it's going to be anything positive. And you'll probably say it's going to say anyway. So we'll start with you, Max. What do you think?
Give me Cleveland. And I'm not joking this week. We're getting a win. I don't care. We're getting a win against the Bengals. If there's any game that I think we can win in the next few games, it's against the Bengals. And I have no evidence to back up that. It's just, I think we might win one. And then we'll probably lose the rest of the games this year.
Right. Caden?
So first of all, I'd like to thank Max for losing a prediction there so I can try climb back up into the league table.
Where's your belt, mate? Where's your belt?
Why would you back the Cleveland Browns against the Bengals? There might be a bit of bias in this. I know it's a divisional game, but you are shit. And we're
You're not great.
Yeah, but
I have to back us eventually.
Our offense alone could probably stop Deshaun Watson from making some plays.
Nah, but it's fine because he's going to get injured.
We could put Joe Burrow as an edge rusher and Deshaun would still break 100 yards minimally.
It's fine because he's going to get injured and James Winston's going to come in and throw for 400 passing yards. So.
Bengals by at least 30, and I think you'd be lucky to score a touchdown.
I'm going to just stop this stupid conversation because it's never going to end well. See, I'm not convinced by the Bengals at all. They were terrible against us. And the Browns, if they do show up defensively, which they can, they won't, but they can.
We've got this, man, so we'll be sound.
They'll limit that offense to not many points because, I said, the first time they've played against a properly good defensive bar, like the big teams, where they've lost the game anyway, and they got shut down completely for most of the game. So I think I am going to back the Bengals, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a margin as you think, Caden, because I think you probably thought you'd blow us out the water as well, and you absolutely didn't. And I think it's one of them games, they'll just be a grind to get through. You'll get minimal points. It'll be a terrible game to watch, but I think you'll win the game.
Myles Garrett will be gone by that game anyway, so...
Can I also point out that Nick Chubb's supposed to be back for this game, so we have a run game now.
True. Kian?
Bengals fans remind me a lot of Tottenham Hotspur fans. It's our year. You're still shit.
It's all that, isn't it? It's all that and they've won now.
That means I do think it'll be the Bengals that win. but it's going to be a close game. Half of me almost went with the Browns just because I think it'd be funny. But now that I know there's going to be some form of forfeit on the end of this when we figure the forfeits out, I'm playing serious. I'm going to go Bengals, but genuinely, I think it's going to be a very close game because, I mean, the Bengals are all this and they're on the same record as us, and I'm happy to admit we're shit. So,
Yeah, and us, and I'm also happy to admit that we're shit. But as you said about the forfeit, I was stressed about it, but Kane's involved in the prediction ladder, so I think we'll be all right. Next up, we have probably the easiest game of the week to predict. I don't even think there needs to be much said about this one at all. The Bills versus the Titans. This could probably be a one-word answer. Max?
Bills.
Kian?
Bills.
Caden?
Bills.
Yeah, it's the Bills. They're going to win. The Titans are terrible. I don't think we need to say, unless anyone wants to add anything to that, I don't think
Will
we
Levis generational run will
We might
continue.
get another Will Levis pick.
Yeah,
That'll be
I
the
can't
win.
believe
Might
he
get
injured
the-
the poor boy.
He injured a
We did
ball boy.
mention that before.
Yeah, it's going to be an easy win for. Well, we say this now. We've said this with confidence. So congratulations up to Tennessee on your win.
No, we
week.
weren't that bad last week. We weren't that bad last week with the old jinx.
Yeah.
No, to be fair, we
We're
all
not bad
went
at
pretty
all.
similar all week, and I don't think that we didn't get any wrong as far as that
No.
ones we predicted. So maybe the jinx is gone, but we'll go from that game to probably, as you said, this another argument for game of the week: the Vikings versus the Lions. The unbeaten Vikings against one of the best, well, two of the best teams in the NFC. I think that's the only way you can put it. I'll start this one off. No Hutchinson, it's an issue for the Lions defense. It's going to be interesting to see how they cope without him. I don't think this is the game they wanted to have straight after losing probably their best defensive player. I think that's the last thing you want to do is face a team unbeaten this season. But both quarterbacks in top form. I don't think anyone predicted Darnold to be this good, but he is, and Goff's been excellent. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think there'll be a slip from the Lions without Hutchinson. I think they need that one game to adjust. Even if they do, I don't think it's anything to worry about really on the season. But I just cannot bet against the Vikings at the minute. Just every game, everyone thinks they'll fall off and they just get better. So I'm going to go with the Vikings to beat the Lions this week. But I've got to imagine I probably won't be joined on that by many of you. But Max?
I was just checking where the game was because I've got the Lions, and I was thinking it was in Detroit for some reason. It's not. It's in Minnesota, so that might be an advantage for the Vikings. But I'm still going to take the Lions. I can't say enough good things about them, and I'm not gonna because it's going to sound a bit obsessive soon, and you're going to think I'm obsessed with Dan Campbell, but I'm not. I just like the Lions, so I'm taking Detroit.
Kian?
I'm taking Detroit as well. You called them the unbeaten Vikings. They're not going to be unbeaten for very long. I have a feeling Sam Darnold was almost running off of momentum. I don't think the bye week has helped them. Personally, I think that might be something that we need to look at. I know obviously a lot of teams use it as that well rest, but there's not much of rest coming back from London. So I've just got a feeling that the Lions are going to have too much for them. Although, to be fair, if the Vikings predictions rang true from what I've said, I think they'd be 0-5. I don't think I've backed them once this season, which is really fucking weird. But yeah, I'm going to go Lions, and I feel like that O of the Vikings is going to go.
Caden?
Well, I'm with you on this, James. I think the game's in Minnesota, and with the Lions missing Aiden Hutchinson for the first time, I think it's going to be hard to adjust to not having that. And I think they'll struggle this week. They will definitely bounce back the week after and win. I don't care who they're playing, they will get a win. But the Vikings coming off a bye week, I don't think they'll have stopped. I don't think they'll have had enough rest, to be honest. They've travelled back from London, I reckon they've gone straight back out there, started smashing it out, and then they're going to come on Sunday, going to get a win against the Lions, and they're going to be unbeaten still.
Probably means I'm wrong if Caden's agreeing with me, but we'll
Kid's getting dunked on today.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Next up, probably can be one-word answers as well. The Giants versus the Eagles. I'll start off our depression pit. We're not winning this game. Although, I don't rate the Eagles at all. Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback, and I will die on this hill. He's not at all. I don't rate him. And I think regardless of the results, Sirianni should probably be fired. And that's been coming for a while now for the Eagles. They need to get rid of him because it's the same situation as the Cowboys. There's something wrong with the head coach. And Sirianni, he's just I think he might be the most dislikable person in the sport at the minute, to be honest, even though Deshaun Watson does exist. So, I'm going to go with the Eagles. I don't think it'll be I don't think it'll be like a blowout or anything. It'll be a close game. Two pretty good defenses just cancel each other out. And then they have more capability. They've got AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. That's going to be where the edge of the game comes from. Same with the Bengals. Just having two good receivers is enough to be able to beat us, I think. So I'm going to go with the Eagles. Caden?
James, I'm going to back the Giants on this one. And I'm not sure why.
What?
I've just got a feeling that you're going to get it done. And I'm going to look like an absolute genius. I watched the Giants for a full 4 quarters for the first time when we played. And the defense is really good. Didn't stop the Bengals enough, but I just feel a really strange win coming. And this is going to be my bold prediction for the week.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Keaton's face for the past minute. He's had the same reaction for the first minute. I'm going to assume, Keaton, you don't agree with Caden there.
Well, do you know, to be fair, I had the Giants as a bit of like a maybe, but then Caden said it, so I'm going to go for the Eagles. I just think that they've got too much. I mean, like you say, they're not a great team, but they've got that power with the receivers, and I just think they're gonna beat you. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about it. Eagles for me.
Max?
You know what, Caden? I'm going to go with you. I'm joking. Don't be stupid.
I thought I had someone with me.
Eagles. We held them to a low score. We held Saquon to about 50 yards rushing and no touchdowns, which I know annoyed Kian because he had a bet on Saquon to score.
Don't fucking start me.
He was screaming at the Browns game for different reasons to me. But the Giants just have nothing on offense, like you said. You're going against AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, and all you've got is Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt. It's not an even competition. So Philadelphia.
To be fair, Neighbours should be back. I don't know. It's a weird. I don't know what's going on with that, but he should be back now. It's 2 games missed with concussion. I can't imagine there'll be many more. But I also want to shout out Tyrone Tracy because I think that's probably our only offensive happy point at the minute. He was excellent again against the Bengals.
He's a baller.
And your 5th round pick, he's looking like a good shout. But as you said, the receiver room is terrible without Malik Neighbours. Jalen Hyatt caught his first touchdown, considering his first pass as a Giant this weekend, and he was drafted last year. So, he's not great. Hurts me to say as a Tennessee fan, but he's just not very good. But yeah, it's going to be the Eagles. I don't know. Caden just decided to go rogue. Don't know why, considering you're already miles behind in the prediction ladder. But if you want to get worse, then
you
go with
miss
the Giants.
100% of the spots you don't take, and I'm happy to say this one.
I hope you're wrong. I hope you're right. Sorry, but
I hope he's wrong.
Yeah, James, you were claiming you could be in playoff contention literally like 2 days ago.
yeah. But then we played 2 games at Malik Neighbours, and I realised how bad we actually are.
But with him back, could be.
Yeah, but it's Daniel Jones. So no.
I'm not doing my impression. I'm not going to.
We'll move on to the Colts against the Dolphins. Another fantastic game of football, which is not going to be tuned into on Red Zone more than about twice. Kian, you can start this one off.
Colts. I can't back the Dolphins without Tua, and he's still not going to be back. I don't. They did actually say that they reckon he's going to come back this season. Didn't he actually, the first time they've come out and said he is going to play this season. And I think it's next weekend.
I think that's when he's allowed to start practicing
again, isn't he? So I don't think it'll be ages until we see him and see a bit of an upturn in their form. But without him, they just look lost. So I'm going to go for the Colts. They're also not great, but they're better than a Tua-less Dolphins side.
Max, I assume I know your answer for this one with Joe Flacco, if he's still there.
I don't think he's starting this week, but I am taking the Colts as well. I think A-Rich is back this week, and I like Anthony Richardson as well. I think he's a really fun quarterback to watch. I say it every week. And the Dolphins, like Kean said, no Tua. I'm not picking them. I refuse to. They've been terrible since Tua's injury. So, yeah, the Colts for me.
Ken?
Right. Give me Miami.
Oh, I got that.
Is that all you're saying about it?
All I'm going to say, you'll see.
Right, okay, so that's another wrong one for Kane.
I've just realised you said Miami and not the Colts. What the fuck?
Did you?
Yeah, you know what? We'll just. I'm not even going to say anything about that. The Colts for me, 100%. I don't see why the Dolphins win a game without Tua until he comes back. So until he is there, I think they lose every game. And I think it's interesting to see whether this sort of situation will cause a bit of unrest with Tyreek and Waddle, players like that, whether they'll start getting annoyed at the situation to a point where they might consider their futures, because it's bad. It's really bad. And this is a team who was in the playoffs last season and is now terrible. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Colts. I don't know. I don't know. Kane's going edgy in an attempt to try and. He's accepted he's lost. But he's just trying to come back in edgy ways.
He's decided he's got nothing to lose, so he's just Hail
he's just
Mary in
going-
every single prediction.
I don't know why you're Hail Mary in it, considering we're on week 7. But yeah, sure. Next up, Commanders versus the Panthers. Probably a very simple one again, I'd like to think, unless Kane's going to go with the Panthers for whatever stupid reason.
No, I'm going to go with the Commanders this time.
There we go. Max?
Commanders. Jen Daniels is a beast.
Kian?
Commanders.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Commanders as well. I think Daniel's probably the favourite for Rookie of the Year at the minute. 5 passing, 4 rushing touchdowns already is pretty good. The Panthers they're not doing anything with Dalton. It's not got any better. They had that one game.
Of course they did against us.
Yeah, but apart from that, it's just been poor, and I don't see where the win comes from them. And it could be a big win for the Commanders if they do get it, because that puts them 5-2, and that probably puts them in good situations to probably win our division, which is a mental thing to say if you said that at the start of the year. But
I said they would 2 weeks ago, and you laughed at me.
No. To be fair, I just didn't think the Eagles and the Cowboys would be this bad. Next up, Kian, to start this one off, we've got the Rams against the Raiders.
We're both shit.
And you're going to make us watch it.
No, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be travelling back from London.
Yeah.
I might make sure I get back now. I'm going to have to go on the M6 toll just to make sure I get back in time. So, yeah, we're both not very good. The only thing for me is there'll be a lot of Raiders in the crowd, because there always is whenever we play at SoFi. A lot more than there would have been last weekend against the Steelers. That was a very, very Steeler crowd, and it was quite upsetting to see. That being said, it's going to be the Rams. We are awful. We're so bad. They're not great, but we're not picking up another win this season. I will die on that hill. And I think there's going to be some big changes in summer. It's going to be a big clear out of the Raiders organisation, starting with Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go next. I think without Devontae, I think your only real hope of any points is relying on Brock Bowers just throwing in the ball as much as he possibly can, because that's your only real option, I think. I think Rams, all things considered, haven't been that bad considering the injury situation. And a point on the injury situation is apparently Cooper Kupp could be back this week.
Oh, brilliant.
I saw his situation's decided in the next couple of days, I think, so we should see that probably before we even release this episode. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams still. But I just don't think they've been that bad. I think even if you throw Cooper Kupp back in there as well, they should win this game quite comfortably. Max?
Yeah, I've got the Rams, obviously. I don't know who in the right mind would pick the Raiders. Maybe Caden, because he's lost the plot. But no, it's the Rams for me. They're just better in pretty much every department. Like you said, I think all that the Raiders have got is Brock Bowers at this point. The running game is just non-existent at this point, apart from when they play Cleveland, obviously. And yeah, their only weapon is Bowers. They've got not much going on defense, really, apart from Max Crosby.
Thank you.
So the Rams for me. I'll back the mailman.
Caden?
Yeah, I'll take the Rams as well. Another pretty easy one. Just don't see the Raiders get anything from it. It could be a very low-scoring game, to be honest, but I still think the Rams will get a win despite more of the injuries, which pretty much ended their season already, because they were playoff contenders coming into the season with a fully fit roster. But if they've got Cooper Kupp back, then it's definitely nailed on Rams, but I still think they'll get it.
Well, I'm more confident we might win now.
That joke's died. It's been and gone.
It hasn't.
I don't think it has. I think until you get off the bottom of the ladder, I don't think it can. Next up, Super Bowl. We got a Super Bowl rematch. 49ers against the Chiefs. Now, probably in a bit of a different situation to when these two teams faced each other a few months ago. But I'll start with you, Max. What do we think?
Niners. I'm not backing the Chiefs. I'm sick of them. I hate them. And I think the Niners are a good enough team to stop this run of like close wins that the Chiefs have been getting. I think, obviously, I touched on it earlier. The running backs are still performing even without the best one, CMC, who might be dead. I'm not sure. And Debo's still performing. Brandon Ayuk, once again, he's not performing that well. He's like the main receiver, and he's not really doing much. Kittle's back in form. The defense is scary. And the Chiefs are coming off a bye week, so they're not going to be, match ready. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just looking for any excuse to make it seem reasonable.
Kian?
As much as I hate you, I'm just going to have to back the Chiefs. Once again, a game with two teams that I really don't like. But yeah, it's going to be the Chiefs. I don't see where they lose, and I'm not had an intensive look at their schedule. I don't know who's coming up, but I don't think this will be the game they get their first loss in, and it's going to be really painful to watch them win again.
Kid?
I'm going to back the Niners as well. I can't see the Chiefs staying unbeaten for any longer. I think the Niners try to kick something up a bit now because they've had such a poor start to the season. And I think that they will not batter the Chiefs, but they'll be by far the better team and put a few points up against them. So I'll take the Niners.
Yeah, lucky Max, that one's going to be wrong.
Jinxed it now, man. Oh, you killed it.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. To be fair, I am going to say this about Brock Purdy. In my opinion, a top 5 quarterback in this league, and I will quite happily argue my case.
Thank you.
Thank you. He's the highest rated quarterback on PFF at the minute as well for this season. He's been great, and I think he is really good. And I would not be one bit surprised if the Niners win this game, because this was a really hard decision for me to make. It's definitely not clear cut. I think the Chiefs have been riding their luck for a few weeks now, and I think it's going to end soon. It could easily end this week. I just can't bet against the Chiefs. It's hard to ever bet against the Chiefs, really. But the Niners do need this win badly for their playoff hopes, I think, just to make sure they're still in that contention. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Next up, we've got the Steelers versus the Jets. So the big story from the Steelers this week is that Justin Fields has been dropped and Russell Wilson's going to take the starting spot. I don't know if there was a thing about them sharing snaps this week, but Russell Wilson is officially QB1 for the game against the Jets. Caden, who's going to win this one?
I think the Jets will get a win. Oh, we're not going to get a win now. Yeah, I think the Jets will beat them. I think
he's rattled.
Yeah, I genuinely.
His head's just rolled down corridor.
Yeah, I do think the Jets will get a win though. I think they're due a decent win. We can't go too long without getting one, and they looked quite good against the Bills, so I think they'll get a win against the Steelers. No bias at all, because we're definitely not in our division, but yeah, give me the Jets.
Max?
Right, James and Kian, between us three right now, one of you is going to have to go with me so I don't look stupid now, do you know what I mean? Because obviously, no, I'm picking the Jets, so we're going to pick the Jets anyway. Especially before the Steelers announced that. Stop falling off your chair, man. You're a grown man.
It's so bad. It just goes straight away whenever I lean back a little bit.
Don't lean back then.
I can't not.
I thought this was a tough prediction when I was doing them yesterday, and then I saw the news about Russell Wilson, and I don't understand it because Justin Fields has actually been really good. He's thrown something like 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, which is really good, actually. No one expected that from him. I definitely didn't. And but the Jets, I think Devante, I don't know if he'll play because he's only just moved. He might need to get used to the plays and stuff. But either way, I think the Jets win this one. They held the Bills to a close loss. And yeah, the New Jersey Jets for me.
Kim?
I'm going Jets as well. I'm really baffled by that Steelers decision, to be honest with you. Obviously, we had the Steelers on the weekend. Fields rushed for 2 touchdowns. Why is he now being dragged out and replaced by Russell Wilson, who was, if anything, quite under par in Denver towards the end of all that? I was not impressed at all. I mean, they've moved on, and I don't think the Steelers should have really been looking at him when they've got Justin Fields playing. He's a good quarterback. So, yeah, I don't really understand it. I think it's going to cause a little bit of discontent in that dressing room, especially with Justin Fields. He's not going to be happy with that. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Jets. I mean, Devontae Adams' hamstring is going to be healed, and I think he will play. So, yeah, give me the Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a sweep again. It's hard to say. I stand by it. The Jets are not contenders, even with Devontae Adams. I don't believe it. There's something wrong. But with that decision to change out, I think if they had kept Fields, I may have gone Steelers here. But I think it's just a weird decision to make, and you can't keep changing quarterbacks. And I think Sharon Snap's a bad idea because you just can't develop any consistency. You need that staple quarterback to be playing every game, unless there's injuries, of course, which can't happen.
Or is Deshaun Watson?
Or that, yeah. But I think you need the staple point in your offense to properly solidify it, and I think the Jets should win this game. The Steelers have just fallen off a bit now, and I think with Russell Wilson, I don't see how they win this game. Next one. This is a very interesting one. I think there's probably potential for an upset here. The Buccaneers against the Ravens. Another contender, I'd say, probably for game of the week if it all goes to plan. Kian, start you.
I'm going to go Ravens because I find it really hard to go against them at the minute. But I do, like you said, I do think there's potential for an upset. The Bucs look very good, especially on offense on Sunday. But I just think the Ravens, they're just inevitable, aren't they? They're a little bit like the Chiefs where they just win. But then they're actually playing better than the Chiefs as well. It's really hard to bet against them, and I regularly don't. If I regularly did, then they'd probably win even more games. So, yeah, I'm going to go Ravens. I can't see a world in which the Baker Mayfield Bucs win that game.
Caden?
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs are looking good at the moment, but there is no way the Ravens don't win this game. They're just in good form and will absolutely give them a very badly done win. So,
Max?
Badly done win. He's sticking with that.
No, I chose to ignore that, but yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't. Yeah, this was a tough one for me because every week I say I can't back against Baker, but I backed against the Ravens last week and it cost me going perfect on my predictions and also winning some money. So I'm going to have to back against Baker this week and pick the Ravens, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens, but Baker Mayfield has thrown the most touchdown passes, and it's by 3 as well. 15 touchdown passes already this season, which is insane numbers to put up for any quarterback. But
MVP.
Potentially, yeah. It's them sort of stats he's putting up, so you can't really argue it. But Derrick Henry's a joke. He has over 700 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns already this season, which is just ridiculous. If you actually look at it, he has a better stat line than Will Levis as far as yards and touchdowns go, which is ridiculous. That running back is outperforming a quarterback on yards this point in the season, but he is. The Ravens look like the team now that we thought they'd be. They had a poor start, but I think they're finally coming to terms with what they need to be, and they're doing exactly that. And I said, I don't want to bet against the Ravens. I didn't make the mistake last week, and I'm not going to make it again this week. I'm going to go with the Ravens. Finally, we have the Cardinals against the Chargers. For me, I don't know about you lot, but this was probably the hardest one to call. I've changed my mind about 5 times on this in the last couple of hours, but Max, start with you to round it off.
I didn't find it hard at all. I went Cardinals straight away. I think they're a solid team in a tough division, apart from the Rams, like I said earlier. Maserati Marv firing on all cylinders. Kyler Murray, vertically challenged, but still a fast guy, and he can get out of that pocket and make stuff happen. Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals. I don't think it's the Chargers, isn't it? We're playing the Chargers. Yeah. I don't think the Chargers can carry on a full season without passing to anyone, and I think they got two more wide receiver injuries in the last game, which is catastrophic for them. But I don't see why running the ball every player is going to get them. So the Cardinals for me.
Caden?
Yeah, I'll take the Cardinals as well. I thought this was a no-brainer as well. The Chargers aren't very good, and the Cardinals don't look that bad. So, simply put, the Cardinals are going to get a win.
Kian?
I must admit, I agree with the other two. I don't think it was hard at all to pick this one. A little bit of bias because obviously the Chargers are in our division, but I do think the Cardinals are a decent side. The little vertically challenged quarterback, although he does struggle to see over his lineman, he is very good. So I just think that they're going to beat. I think it could be quite comfortable as well.
See, I have agreed with you all. I have gone with the Cardinals, but I do think the Chargers are an okay team. I think it's the supporting cast issue for Herbert. He's a great quarterback, but there's no one to throw the ball to.
Maserati Marv?
For the Chargers, yeah.
Oh, wait, I thought you were on about Kyler Murray. Never mind, I was on out.
No,
Sure,
the supporting cast for the Chargers is a bit useless, and I think that's his issue. I really do like Justin Herbert, but he's got nothing. They said Joe Alt looks unbelievable, but it's not going to help him win any games because as much as he's got all the time in the world to throw the ball now, there's still nobody to throw it to. They said, I do like the Cardinals. I think they're a really good team. Marv finally showing, obviously finally he's been good all season, but I think they're finally settling into that groove now with him and Kyler. I'm going with the Cardinals to round it off. I think they should win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's close because the Chargers can just turn up randomly at any game and just start playing really well. So, yeah. To round it off, final question of the day. Bit of an interesting one, really. Probably could apply to most of us at the minute. If you could support another team in the NFL,
yes,
Can
I
I?
who would the team be? Now, I'll start off. For me, I was stuck between two basically all day, and I still can't decide. It's either the Minnesota Vikings or the Detroit Lions. And I think it heavily leans on. I really like both their head coaches. I really like Dan Campbell. I think he's top quality. He's one of the best in the league, I think, if not the best head coach in the league. And same with Kevin O'Connell, I really like him. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably say the Lions. I think if you're going to pick anyone to be America's team, I think you probably label it the Lions at the mix. It's definitely not the Cowboys. But they're just a really likable team. I think, especially see what they're doing against the Cowboys. It may be biased just because they were just absolutely taking the piss out of Dallas. But I just think they're a likable team. And I think if I didn't have to watch this absolute shit show that I've got to watch with the Giants, I'd probably be a Lions fan if I came into the sport now as a new fan. Kian, who would you support?
Mine. So if you'd have asked me this last week, I would have agreed with you on the Lions because I really enjoy watching them. But the Bears were really good with us on that day. Like the amount of stuff, the amount of how open they were to questions, letting people just sit and talk to these star players. It felt so much different. I mean, I'm not trying to slag off the Jets communication staff by any means, but it just felt like a more like friendly atmosphere sort of thing. And I have watched them live as well. I watched us beat them in 2019. So that's another little thing that sways into it. So I'm going to go for the Bears. I'm a bit of a fan of them now. And they're a team that I never used to really care about. But yeah, I'm going to go Bears. Definitely.
Max?
I'm torn between two, but I would also shout out the Bears. Like Kian said, I really enjoyed my experience with them last week. But the two for me are, the first one was the Falcons, just because they were the team I was going to support when I got into the sport, and then someone gave me a Browns jersey, and I now hate them for doing that to me. But the other team is the Lions, and if I have to split hairs between those two, the Lions are more fun to watch, and they wear blue, which is my favourite colour. So Detroit for me as well.
Caden?
I've got a couple as well. My first one would be 49ers, just because of the Leeds United connection. It would have made sense, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. As I do quite like the Niners as well. They're fun to watch. But if it's from a perspective of being like a new fan starting again, I would have gone for the Texans, because I just think that they're my favourite team to watch at the moment, and very exciting what they're building over in Houston. So that'd probably be my pick as well. Just couldn't decide between two.
Yeah, I think I probably, as you said about the Bears, Kian probably leans in quite heavily on my Vikings pick because they were so good with us as well. I think. I think it's just having that personal connection, especially seeing these teams outside of just them playing on the field. It's intriguing, as you said, how good they were with you. I mean, couldn't really ask much more from the Vikings. We got Justin Jefferson, we got Kevin O'Connell, we got Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones. We got all these people. They could have just thrown out anyone, but they gave us exactly who we wanted to see. And personal time with Aaron Jones and stuff was like unbelievable for me. But that's probably why they play so highly into my rankings at the minute. But yeah, I prefer the Lions. But that's it for us this week. So next week we'll be back with more of our probably awful or fantastic predictions based on last week. Unless you Caden, which would be awful. We'll also cover any new news that comes out in the rest of the week and talk about the results from this week. But thanks to Kian, Max, and Caden for joining me, and we will see you all next week.
Bear down.
Bye, everyone.